All right, let's talk about an American icon, a company that has stared death in the face not just once, but multiple times. We're diving into the story of Chrysler, a company whose history is packed with incredible innovation and, yeah, some truly spectacular failures.
It's a real roller coaster of ambition, crisis, and last-minute reinvention. So that's the big question we're tackling today. How in the world did Chrysler manage to survive it all, to keep coming back from the brink through a century of dizzying highs and terrifying lows?
Okay, so our story kicks off with one guy's big idea. From the very beginning, Walter Chrysler wasn't just trying to build another car company. Nope, he was out to create an engineering powerhouse.
And the growth was just explosive. I mean, look at this timeline. After starting up in 1925, he wastes no time adding Plymouth and DeSoto, and then makes a huge move by buying the Dodge Brothers company in '28. And get this, in just 11 years, they blew past a ton of competitors to become the #2 car maker in America, right on the heels of GM.
So, what was their secret sauce? It was all about the innovation. Chrysler was the first to mass-produce hydraulic brakes for cars. They pioneered rubber engine mounts to make the ride smoother, and even invented a safety wheel so your tire wouldn't fly off if you got a flat. They were even the first to use a wind tunnel for car design, which gave us the wild-looking airflow. This obsession with engineering, that was their brand.
But, even the smartest companies can lose their way. And by the 1970s, this engineering giant was stumbling, heading straight for its first life-or-death crisis.
The world changed, but Chrysler? Well, Chrysler didn't. When the 1973 oil crisis hit, gas prices shot through the roof. But if you walked into a Chrysler dealership, all you'd see were the same big, gas-guzzling cars from the 60s. And suddenly, nobody wanted them.
This whole situation just created a perfect storm. As you can see here, their big cars weren't selling. Then, to make things even worse, their new compact cars, the Aspen and Volare, were rushed out the door and were, frankly, terrible. They had so many quality problems, leading to huge recalls that just shattered customer trust. The company was bleeding money.
They were completely out of cash and out of options. So, in 1979, Chrysler went to the US government and asked for something jaw-dropping: $1.5 billion in loan guarantees, just to stay alive. It was the first big auto bailout.
So, the company's on life support. And who do they hire? A legend who had just been famously fired from Ford, Lee Iacocca. His arrival kicked off one of the greatest corporate comeback stories of all time.
Iacocca immediately became the face of the company. He went on TV himself and threw down this incredibly bold challenge. He wasn't just selling cars, he was selling confidence, belief in a new Chrysler. He put his own reputation on the line, and you know what? America bought it.
Iacocca's strategy was brilliant because it was simple: build the cars that people actually needed. So out went the old gas guzzlers, and in came the efficient, affordable K-car. But his real masterstroke was a vehicle that Ford had actually passed on: the minivan. The Dodge Caravan and Plymouth Voyager didn't just save Chrysler, they invented a whole new kind of family car.
And the plan worked like a charm. He got the loans, the K-car and the minivan were massive hits, and the company came roaring back. They were so profitable, in fact, that they paid back every single cent of those government loans 7 years early.
So after the huge success of the 80s and 90s, Chrysler found itself in a new world of global mega mergers. But what was supposed to be a legendary partnership ended up paving the road to the company's next disaster.
Okay, so in 1998, Germany's Daimler-Benz, the company that makes Mercedes, merged with Chrysler. They called it a merger of equals. On paper, it looked like a dream team. German engineering meets American muscle and marketing.
Yeah, about that equals part, it wasn't true at all. Daimler was clearly in charge, and the two company cultures just did not mix. You had Daimler's slow, formal style clashing with Chrysler's faster, more aggressive way of doing things. It was a mess, a total drain on Daimler's money, and that powerhouse they promised, it never happened.
So just 9 years later, the whole disastrous experiment was over. Daimler basically paid to get rid of Chrysler, selling off most of the company to a private equity firm called Cerberus. This put a debt-ridden Chrysler in a really vulnerable spot, right as a massive global financial crisis was about to hit.
The timing was just unbelievable. Couldn't have been worse. Just a year after the Cerberus sale, the 2008 financial crisis erupts, bringing the entire auto industry to its knees. For Chrysler, it must have felt like a nightmare they'd already lived through.
And the impact of the 2008 crash was just brutal. This chart tells the whole story. Sales plummeted by nearly 35%. The government had to step in again, this time with a staggering $13.4 billion loan. On top of it all, almost 800 dealerships had to shut their doors for good. It was an absolute catastrophe.
Even with all that bailout money, it wasn't enough. On April 30th, 2009, the unthinkable happened. For the second time, Chrysler filed for bankruptcy. The ultimate comeback kid was down for the count once again.
But from the ashes of that bankruptcy, another new chapter began. This one defined by a dizzying carousel of owners. I mean, look at this timeline. You go from Daimler to Cerberus, then an alliance with the Italian carmaker Fiat, and finally, in 2021, a merger into Stellantis, which is now one of the biggest car companies on the planet.
And that brings us to today. Chrysler is now just one brand among many, sitting next to names like Peugeot, Jeep, and Maserati inside this huge global company. It has survived crises that would have wiped any other company off the map. So, the question is, after a whole century of chaos, has the ultimate comeback kid finally found a stable home? Or is another dramatic chapter just waiting around the corner?